Hello, Facebook. My name is Matt Stanton, and welcome to Funny Kid Live. How cool is this? This is fantastic. Now, I'm an author and an illustrator and a YouTuber, and I create books. And so some of these books you may know. There is a monster under my bed who farts. This is a series I make with my friend Tim, and we make these books together, so you might have seen that. This is a Ball, the books that drive kids crazy. This is a series that I make with my wife, Beck. All funny picture books. But what I'm super excited about is the brand new book, Funny Kid for President. And this is my new middle grade series. So this is a chapter books. And this is all for like primary school age kids. So I'm hoping there's many of you out there today, because here on Funny Kid Live, what we're going to do, I'm going to read you some of the book. We'll do some drawing. I'll teach you how to draw some of my favourite characters. But also we will answer your questions. So if you've got questions, just remember, write them in the comments below. And we'll see them, and we'll get a chance to answer a few of them, which would be fantastic. So make sure you write your questions in the comments below. But before we go any further, I think I need to introduce you to my friend, Max.
Hey guys, my name's Max, but most people call me the Funny Kid. Today, I'm going to get this punk to read you my new book.
This punk? Buddy, I created the book.
You didn't create it.
I did.
It's my life. I created it. You just, typed it up.
Typed it up?
Yep, anybody could have done it really.
What about the pictures? I drew all the pictures.
Oh, clap. Everybody give Matt a clap. He copied my beautiful face onto paper.
Copied your...
My lovely eyes, my sturdy nose, my perfectly sized ears,
Max.
my gorgeous hair.
I created your hair.
You're just jealous of my hair, aren't you?
I'm jealous of your...
Let's face it. You don't have any hair.
Oh, but that's because I cut it
And
off.
I have lots of beautiful hair.
Are we just going to argue this whole time?
Are we just going to argue the whole time?
Max.
That's very immature, Max.
Oh, Max. All right, fine. Look,
Oh, about time. These poor kids have been waiting.
Yeah,
and
I'm
you
gonna
have to
read it.
read them the whole book.
we're not going to have time to read the whole book, Max.
The whole
Max.
book.
All right. Gee, who invited him, huh? Well, all right. I'll read you a little bit. I guess we should start at chapter 1. We're not going to be able to read the whole... Oh, well, we'll just start. Chapter 1. Someone has pooped in the storeroom. Actually pooped in the middle of the floor. It's lying there in the dark like a lonely, sleeping baby mole. What's the... That's my teacher, Mr. Armstrong. He's standing in the doorway, glaring down at the little poop like he's going to vaporize it with just the power of his eyes. Mr. Armstrong doesn't look like a normal teacher. He looks like a hairless gorilla who eats puppies for breakfast. Most teachers look, a little wimpy. Mr. Armstrong looks like he bends iron bars just to relax. That might sound cool to you. It's not. Staring at the poop on the floor, Mr. Armstrong is turning the colour of a stressed strawberry. Veins pulse in his neck like slugs trying to get away from his face. Normally, this means he's about to yell, 20 laps! Which means we all have to run around the classroom while he puts hurdles in front of us. Take it from someone who's been there. It hurts to crash into a printer, become a human paper jam. Mr. Armstrong looks like a volcano that's about to blow. I am seriously considering hiding under my desk. He can explode at the littlest things. Someone forgets their homework, guilty. Or forgets their school bag, guilty. Or forgets their pants. Don't judge me. But this is a whole new level. I've never seen a head turn red like that. Then again, I've Never seen a poop in the storeroom either. I'm Max, by the way. I go to Red Hill Middle School, and I'm in Mr. Armstrong's class. I did not do the poop. Mr. Armstrong turns and looks at each of us. For someone with such a big head, he has tiny nostrils, and they're flaring in and out as he huffs around the room like a gorilla with gas. I know you don't believe me, but I can tell who is responsible for that atrocity in there just by looking into each of your teeny little eyes, Mr. Armstrong says. He looks at Emily and Layla, Josh and Ryan. He doesn't seem to think Kevin did it, although I'm not so sure. Kevin does eat a lot of chili. Mr. Armstrong stops in front of me. This is probably a good time to tell you that Mr. Armstrong doesn't like me very much. I think it's because I'm not very good at sport, and to Mr. Armstrong that means there's not much point in me being alive. Max? What? It was you. What was me? You did the thing in the storeroom, you did that. No, I didn't, I say. I think it's best to remain calm. After all, I did not do the poop. Yes, you did, Max. He puts his hands on his hips and seems to squeeze in his waist. I like to imagine that if he squeezed hard enough, his head will explode off his shoulders like a popped pimple. Really, I didn't do it, Mr. Armstrong. He doesn't seem convinced, so I decide to give him a bit more information. I haven't done a poop since Monday. And suddenly the whole class is looking at me in disgust. Too much information? That's gross, Max, says the teacher. Then he hands me a box of tissues. What's this for? I ask. Go get rid of it. What? I'm not touching that. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. This is unfair and very unhygienic. So much for remaining calm. Do it now, Max, or 30 laps. Oh, I can't believe it. This is so disgusting. I take the tissue box and drag myself over to the storeroom door. There's the poop, sitting on the floor, all innocent looking, just waiting for me. I look at the poop. I look back at the tissues. I look back at the poop. What am I supposed to put it in? Mr. Armstrong smirks. I guess you'd better go and get your lunchbox. And that is the end of chapter 1. Now, despite what Max wanted us to do, we are not going to read all of Funny Kid for President right now. We will read a little bit more a bit later. But what I thought it would be fun to do is to do some drawing. Do you like drawing? I love drawing. I've always loved drawing. And when I was a kid and I used to draw a lot, what I used to like to do was to draw my favorite characters, and I would copy them. I would get my favorite books or my favorite comics or the cereal box that had a cartoon character on the side or my favorite toys, and I would put them there and I would get my piece of paper and I would copy them, and I would practice and practice until I could really, really get that drawing really right. And sometimes it takes a lot of practice, but I loved it. And then I would get it until I could draw like Batman, like just the way that I wanted him. And that was great. And so then I could show my friends the drawing that I could do because I'd been practicing. Now, I thought it would be fun to show you how to draw some of the characters from Funny Kid, because they're my characters and I can show you, and you can practice them if you would like to. So let's do some drawing. I've got some paper set up over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to draw Max. Now, before we do any drawing, I need to show you what I have here. I have my pencil, you see my pencil, and I have a marker. Now, if you would like to draw along with me, you should totally do that. So grab a piece of paper and grab some pencils, grab a marker if you can, because what I'm going to show you is that I use a pencil and a marker to do my drawings. Now, the reason that I do that is Well, first of all, have you ever noticed how when you go and you watch someone doing their drawing, whether you're watching it on Facebook or on the internet somewhere, or you're watching it, or some of your favorite cartoonists or illustrators are showing you their drawing, they do it perfectly all the time. Do you ever find that? And I find that so annoying because it takes a lot of practice to learn how to draw a character. And so I always see it, how illustrators take out their marker and they draw one straight perfect line and another straight perfect line. And everything just looks so perfect. And when I'm trying to copy along, I can't get it exactly the way that they have it. So what I thought I'd do today is I'd show you how I actually draw. Because the thing is, those cartoonists or illustrators that you've been watching drawing have drawn that character thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and you're doing it for the first time. And so we're not going to get it exactly the way that they do it because they've practiced over and over again and we haven't practiced. So what I'm going to show you is the way that I actually draw, which is not that I do the perfect line, the perfect time every time. Instead, I use a pencil first. So we're going to draw Max. So you'll see when I do my drawings, first of all, we're going to start with a rectangle. Now, see how sort of loose and rough I'm doing this drawing? There's no strong straight lines here. If you look at the illustrations in Funny Kid, all of the lines are really straight and strong. But that's not how you start, because you have to work out where everything goes, and you have to put it all in the right spot. So draw a rectangle like that. It can just be nice and loose. See how nothing's straight? It doesn't matter. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do another shorter rectangle underneath that sort of comes out a little bit at the bottom. So it's a little bit wider at the bottom than it is at the top. See that? That's going to be Max's body. Max has a really big head in more ways than one. And so here's his body. It comes out a little bit at the bottom and his feet will go sort of under there. So see how everything is just made up of those shapes first? So you've got sort of a long rectangle here and then a sort of squashed rectangle there that comes out a bit wider at the bottom, and a long rectangle for his feet. Now what I like to do, and this is just to help me really, is draw a straight line straight down the middle, because that's going to help me remember where the middle of my drawing is. You see that? Have you got that on yours? Excellent. Now the first thing that we are going to draw when we put in parts of Max's face is we're going to do his ears. And his ears are about halfway down that top rectangle just on the side here. They're just like little boxes, see? And you just put them in here. Now you might be wondering, why would I start with Max's ears? Well, because his ears are going to help us work out where to put everything else. See, next we're going to do his nose. And his nose goes in here like this. See how it goes in along the same line as the bottom of the ears, and it sits right in the middle over the center line here. So we know that we have it in the right spot up this way because it's measured to the ears, and the right way this way because of the center line. Now we're going to do his eyes. Now his eyes sit just up here. Now the way to know where they go is they're in line with the top of his ears. See, they sit on an imaginary line there, and they line up with the sides of his nose. Now we're going to do his mouth. So we'll do a straight line about the same width as his nose, just underneath his nose, and then we're going to come down here like this. Now it looks like it's going to be a triangle, but it's not, because we're going to cut it off at the bottom. It doesn't quite come to a point, it just comes down like that. And then his little tongue is going to sit in there like that. Now, let's give him some eyebrows. Max has very expressive eyebrows. They will sit up here. See how I'm still doing everything with really loose lines, because we're going to use our marker in a minute to put the proper lines in over the top. Now let's do his hair. Max has spiky hair. So the first spike, he has 3 big spikes. And the first one we're going to put up here like this. And it sort of comes up almost like it's come from the side of his head here. See that? That curls over, and then we'll do another one here and another one here. Now what you can do is you can join these up. And they come down like that. Comes down the side of his head. He's got 3 big spikes, and then we'll just put another couple of spikes in until we get to the top of his ear, like that. Now on this side, we need the hair to start going the other way. So first of all, he's got this little sprouty bit that just sticks up pointing that way, and then a little bit here so that we can start doing spikes down this side. Wonderful. Well, he's starting to look a bit like Max. Excellent. Now, on his body, he's got a big tummy and very, very short legs. Now, I talk about this in Funny Kid for President because Max has to go in a running race that Mr. Armstrong organises, you see. And he has to go in a running race and his legs are too little and his tummy is too big, which means that he flips over and eats a lot of grass. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Then we put his arms down the side and his little hands. Now he has some stripes, so we can put those stripes in too. All right, now we've got someone who's looking a bit like Max. Now see how I've used really, really rough lines. Now we're going to get our marker. So get your marker, and we'll start at the top so that we don't smudge. And rather than doing our really rough lines, we're going to do really strong straight lines. Like that. Can you see that? Big ears. And lines down the side of his head like that. How's yours starting to look? Looking like that? We'll do his eyebrows. Colour in his eyes as little black circles. His mouth. And we'll colour in the background behind his tongue there. Now, you're not going to get this first time, but that's okay. Or you might do. You should send me photos. In the back of Funny Kid, I put my email address. So you can email me if you like and send me your drawing. His little arms are tucked down the side here. And his hands. And then we'll put in those stripes. Now, the stripes are just straight lines that go all the way across. His shoes. Max is short like me. I always had very short legs. I've still got short legs. But as he pointed out, he's got a lot more hair than I do. Good for you, Max. And he's got black pants. So there you go. You have Funny Kid. You have Max Walbert. That's his full name. Max Walbert from Funny Kid. Now, we might do a little bit more drawing in a little bit. But first, I think it would be time to see if there are any questions. Now, we had some questions that came in earlier, and so we'll start with those. So just a reminder, though, if you want to ask a question, that you can put it into the comments underneath this post on the Facebook page. You can put it in the comments, and then I'll be able to see some of them, and so I'll answer some as we go along, okay? But now, some of you have asked questions earlier, so that's been really helpful. So I've got a couple of those, and we'll start with those. First of all, Bianca says, what do you like doing more, writing or drawing? Oh, that's a great question, Bianca. You know what? And it's really hard to answer because I love doing both. I really, really love doing both. And I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but it's not. I love it because, see, my job is to make the funniest books that I possibly can. And so I think about it like toolboxes. I think about it like I have a writing toolbox that I can dip into and get a tool out, or I have my drawing toolbox that I can dip into and get a tool out. And so I have both of those toolboxes. And so when I do Funny Kid, I look at every page and I see how can I make this the funniest I can possibly make it. And then I can use either of those tools to make it funnier. But that's a great question, Bianca. William asks, when will the next Funny Kid be available? Oh, thanks, William. Well, Funny Kid is a series, and this is the first one. Funny Kid for President is the first one, so good question, William. The next one will be called Funny Kid Stand Up, and that comes out at the end of the year. I'm working super hard on that at the moment, and because I want to get that into your hands as quickly as possible, because you guys read really fast. That's what I've been learning. You guys read super fast. So I'm working on that as fast as I can, and it will be out in Australia and New Zealand at the end of the year. Now, Jem asks, what were your favourite books when you were growing up? Oh, that's a really good question. My favourite books, I really liked books by Roald Dahl. Has anyone read books by Roald Dahl? I love Roald Dahl. He was so funny all the time, and I really, really liked his funny books. I also really liked Dr. Seuss. Like for picture books, I really like Dr. Seuss. And I have two wonderful children of my own, and we love reading Dr. Seuss together, especially Green Eggs and Ham. I really like Green Eggs and Ham. I feel like it would be good if they could mix Roald Dahl books with Dr. Seuss books, and you could have like the Fantastic Mr. Fox in Socks or something. That would be fun. So they're wonderful questions. Thank you so much. I think what we might do now is I would like to read you another chapter. Now, do you remember what I was saying before? I was saying that Max fell over in the running race. Well, that happens in the chapter just before chapter 18, and that's what I'm about to read to you. You see, Max is running for class president. That's how he thinks he can get back at Mr. Armstrong, you see. He can get back at Mr. Armstrong for the whole poop incident by winning the class president election. So he's running for president against lots of the other kids. But some funny things have started to happen, and it's making Max think that maybe not all is as it seems. And so they had their running race, and Max did terribly in the running race and ended up eating a lot of grass when he fell over. But anyway, after the running race, Mr. Armstrong bought everybody lunch. And that's very strange, because that's a nice thing to do, and Mr. Armstrong doesn't really do nice things. So we'll pick it up in chapter 18. That afternoon, we're in the library for a lesson from the librarian on how to search for books. I am listening super, super hard and talking to Hugo at the same time. I can't believe Mr. Armstrong bought us all lunch. I think it might be the first time I've ever seen him do something nice, I say. I don't know, Hugo replies, rubbing his tummy. I'm still a bit hungry. Fat-free, nut-free, dairy-free, taste-free green smoothies aren't very filling. I had a mouthful of grass earlier, so I'm quite full, says Max. Burp! Ooh. Everyone laughs. That was Kevin, the style king himself. He's looking a little grey, says Hugo. He's right. Cute Kevin's not looking so hot right now. Kevin, are you all right? Abby says. Then it happens. It starts as a low rumble from somewhere, like a distant plane or a groaning rhinoceros that doesn't want to do its homework. Then Kevin begins to wiggle, up and down, left and right. And he starts to get that panicked look in his eyes, the one that says, something very bad is about to come out of my body and I'm not going to be able to stop it. During a natural disaster, people need their commander-in-chief, someone who's not going to panic. It's time for me to step up. He's gonna blow! I shout, everyone down! People begin to scream. But it's too late. Green smoothie spew projects out of Kevin's cake hole like water from a hose, spraying on the bookshelves as he turns like one of those creepy clowns at the community fair. Oh. We hit the floor, but what goes up must come down, vomit included. Get behind the shelves! I grab Hugo and drag him behind a shelf. I'm hit, the librarian shouts. We look out from our shelter behind the dictionaries. Sure enough, the librarian has copped it in the face. She's going down. I peek through a gap in the books just as Kevin turns in our direction. I dive backwards, grabbing Hugo and Abby on the way down. Splash! Vomit hits the shelves, and a few splatters sail over our heads. If anyone wants to find spew in the dictionary now, they'll have no trouble. We stay pressed against the stacks, close to the floor, catching our breath. Everything is eerily silent. When it feels safe, I sneak a peek. The library has been painted green. There are bodies everywhere. I spot Kevin lying still, moaning softly, looking emptied, like a shriveled balloon. I hold a hand out to help Hugo and Abby. "Ah, you're my hero," Hugo says. And that is the end of chapter 18. You know, when I finished writing chapter 18, I thought to myself, I have the best job in the whole world. Because I got to sit down and actually think about what it would be like if you projectile vomited in the school library. It was quite fun and a little bit disgusting, but quite fun. And then I got to work out what it might look like and try and draw a picture of it. That's the wonderful thing about your imagination. You can think about things and then you can use your drawing and your writing to create those things that are only in your imagination, because then you can share them. All right, let's do another drawing, because what I would like to do is show you one of my other favorite characters. Now, one of my other favorite characters is called Duck. Now, Duck, when you read Funny Kid for President, you'll learn all about Duck. But Duck is a stalker. Actually, Duck is Max's stalker. So Duck follows Max everywhere that he goes and gets him into all sorts of trouble because he just won't leave him alone, and he's always trying to bite him on the bottom. And I don't know about you, if you've ever had a duck bite you on the bottom, but I got to imagine what that feels like, and I don't imagine it feels very nice. So, I'm going to teach you how to draw a duck. Now, same again. What we're going to do is we're going to use our pencil. But first we're going to draw a circle. Again, just nice and loose like this. The great thing about doing the pencils with the marker is at the end, once the marker is dried, you can use a rubber and rub out all the pencil, and no one will ever see that you used the pencil. But the pencil is really helpful for working out where to put things. Now let's put a little line down the middle of our circle again so that we know where the middle is. It's sort of an oval, nice and wide. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put his head up here above his body. Now he sort of looks a little bit like a 10-pin. You know, from 10-pin bowling? Sort of just sits up there nice and high like that. Now what we do is let's put his little feet down here. So they're going to sit on a little line here. And we'll scoop out that way and scoop out that way. Now we have our duck feet. Now, let's put a line across here so that we know where his head is. And we'll put another line underneath because Duck has a bit of a stripe, you see. A white stripe. He's green up here and brown down here. And he has a white stripe in between the green and the brown. Now, we're going to do his beak. So to do his beak, we're going to do like a big upside down smile, like a frown, which is just a big curved line like that. And then we're going to bring it round like little circles at the end and come in under here like this. So it's like the big front of his beak. Now underneath his beak, he's got his bottom part of his beak, so that just sits underneath there like that. And then, because his beak comes around the side of his face, you see, we see the little side bits, just little circles around here. Now he has eyes just like Max, and they sit nicely right there in the middle. I think actually his head should be a little bit taller, so that's the beauty of doing it in pencil. Let's just make him a little bit taller there. Now, you can't really see his wings because they're in next to him. Unless he's flapping, then his wings would stick out here. But when he's just standing there looking serious, he looks like that. So now let's get our marker. And we're just going to do this part of his head first. Up. Try and keep a nice smooth line all in one if you can, so that you're just stopping your marker at the end bits. Then we'll do his beak at the front here. Again, nice and smooth if you can. I still have trouble with that sometimes. And then underneath. Then we'll do those ones around the side. Now let's pop back in here and colour in those eyes. 1, 2. Now we've got a nice long line to do here because we're going to try and do his whole body. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Down, around, up, and back in. There we go. He's a little bit chubby in the bottom. Straight line. Straight line. Now we can do his feet. They come down here like this. Now, Duck is one of the characters I get asked about the most. People seem to really like Duck, and that's great to me. There's something about ducks. I've always really liked ducks. There's a line for the middle of his legs. And there we have Duck, one of my favourite characters, Duck. Now, Duck is wonderful. And there's lots of there were lots of favourite ducks that I had in my childhood, like Daffy Duck and Donald Duck, and something great about ducks. So I was really happy to put a duck in Funny Kid. Now I'm going to check again and see how we are for questions. There's been heaps of live questions. Thanks, guys. Let's see if we can do a few of them. Okay, so Miles and Michelle ask, was I the funny kid at school? Is that what gave me the idea for the book? Oh, that's a good question. I wasn't as funny as Max, but I did have a moment when I was 11 where I had written a story that I'd tried to make as funny as I possibly could. And when I read it out to all of my friends, because the teacher made me read it out to them, I didn't want to, the teacher made me read my story to all my friends, and they all laughed. And I thought, you know what, this funny thing is pretty good. This funny thing of being able to bring joy and bring happiness and make somebody laugh is pretty amazing. I really like that. And so that's a little bit like Max. Max in Funny Kid for President discovers that being the funny kid is actually pretty cool. And that's a little bit like my story. Oh, Christine asks, what method do I use to colour Max in? Oh, good question, Christine. So, I do most of my drawing on the computer, okay? But what I do is I use a program called Photoshop for the colouring. And then what I do in Photoshop is pretty much I do it just like you would colour in with pencils or painting. So I'm not using any fancy tools in Photoshop. I have a little pen and it goes on a tablet, and I draw on the tablet and it plugs into my laptop, and I can colour it in, I can paint it in. And so that's when you learn about light and shade, and you have to think about where the light is coming from, and therefore where the shadow would be. If the light is on one side, then the shadow will be on the other, and all of the different colours. But I do all of my work, the reason I do all of my work straight into the computer is because I work from all sorts of different places. My whole office is in my bag. And sometimes I work outside, sometimes I work in my garage, sometimes I work at the beach. And so I work everywhere, which means I need everything to fit in my bag. So that's why I work on the computer. Seth asks, what other books have you written? Oh, thanks, Seth. Well, I have 2 other series, like I said before, other than Funny Kids. So I have a series with Beck, This is a Ball, and Did You Take the Bee from My Ook? And the Red Book, which is actually purple. And they're really fun books to read aloud. And I do lots of those in schools when I visit schools. And then I have the series of Fart Monster books, which I love, that I do with my mate Tim Miller. And so there's a monster under my bed who farts, the pirate who had to pee, dinosaur dump. There's a monster on my holiday who farts. There's a monster under my Christmas tree who farts. And we've just finished one that's just going to the printers now about not spewing in space. It's a bit of a vomit theme happening, isn't there? Anyway, that one's going to be out at Christmas time. Thanks, Seth. Trudy asks, have I got any advice for kids that love to read but struggle at school? Oh, that's a great question, Trudy. I think reading is just the best thing ever. And I loved reading as a kid, and I still love reading now. And most of my reading I did outside of school. So I would use the library and I would read whatever books I wanted to read. Because the thing is, once you start choosing books for yourself, you can read about whatever you want to read about. You can learn about whatever you want to learn about. And so sometimes the classroom isn't the most fun place to be. Max doesn't really like being in the classroom that much. He struggles a little bit. But reading can take you to so many amazing places and to find out so many other things. And you can learn from reading just like you can learn at school. So I would definitely encourage you to keep reading and read whatever you want to read. You get to choose. Kimberly asks, did I have a teacher like Mr. Armstrong at school? I would hope nobody ever in the history of the world gets a teacher quite like Mr. Armstrong, because he's just scary. No, I did not have a teacher like Mr. Armstrong. I did have some teachers that were wonderful, and I had some teachers that really liked sport, and I didn't really like sport very much, a bit like Max. But the way to make something funny is to really, really exaggerate it. And that's what I've done with Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong is a big exaggeration. Okay, a couple more questions and then it will be time for me to go. Okay, Essie asks, what was my favourite part of writing and illustrating Funny Kid? Do you know what my favourite part is? And this might not be the answer that you're expecting. My favourite part is sharing the book with kids. It's better than writing it, and it's better than drawing it. It's better than reading it. Giving it to kids and reading it with kids and laughing with kids, that's the best. And so I love doing that. I go and visit schools a lot, and we do that a lot, and I love doing that because sharing stories and telling your friends about stories that you like is just amazing. Alice asks, who is my favourite character to draw? Oh, I really like drawing Duck. I like drawing Duck a lot. Duck's a little bit easier than some of the other characters because he doesn't have as many bits to him. But I really like drawing Duck, and I like drawing him running. He's quite funny to draw running. Christina asks, why did you decide to write a novel? And can we expect more picture books from you too? Oh, that's a great question, Christina. Do you know why I decided to write a novel? I'd been doing picture books. I've been doing lots and lots of picture books. But the reason that I decided to write a novel is because I was going and visiting schools, and some of the kids that I love to hang out with at schools are in like grades 3 to grade 6. Okay, so, and those kids in like grades 3 to grade 6, I would have a great time talking with them about writing and drawing, but I didn't really have any books for you guys because I had the picture books, which were generally for younger kids. So I wrote a novel, I wrote chapter books because I really wanted to create a book for you that was just for you guys and that you guys would really enjoy. I am going to keep doing picture books though because I love picture books. So Tim and I will keep doing a book every year of this Fart Monster series, and Beck and I will keep doing a book every year with our Read Out Loud series. So hey, thank you very much for tuning in today, guys. Look, I feel really passionately about funny books. I think funny books are the best. I like laughing, and you know what? Every kid loves laughing. And so that's one of the reasons that, one of the lines that I've been using when I talk about Funny Kid is I've been saying, funny kids unite. And one of the reasons I've been saying that is because I really do think funny kids bring people together. If you can make someone else laugh, if you can bring someone else joy, bring someone else some happiness, then you can bring people together. And that's a real gift that you have. So funny kids, keep being funny, keep making kids laugh, and whatever you do, keep reading. Thanks so much, guys. It's been wonderful to be with you today. See you later.